So, welcome to Krav Life. I'm Paul Simos, and I have a special guest with me all the way from Singapore, Mr. Jacob Van Rem. How are you doing, sir?
Very good, Paul Simmons. Thank you for having me. In present times, I think there's a lot that we can share cross borders, and we can learn
Mhm.
from each other, and we can build the community. Make it although it's international, make it a global passport.
Yeah, I fully agree. The more we work together, the better Krav Maga gets. So, for our audience that may not know where Singapore is, can you enlighten us?
Okay. It's historically
Mhm,
Singapore has been part of the Malaya.
mhm,
So it's a new branch, just like how Israel was part of Palestine. Singapore came about in around 1965,
mhm.
and we are just a small island nation, and we have grew significantly in terms of post-industrial revolution. Um, Relying on our neighbors. So our neighbors from all countries, we see you as a very valued partner.
And so, Singapore has a population of several million, right?
So up to date, it was about 5.8 million. There was an idea to expand. However, since times we are taking our expansion gradually. That's right.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to be a little bit more cautious now. All right, so let's go a little bit into your background. And
So,
so, was did you start your career in Krav Maga, or did you start in a different martial art or the military? Like, what's your background?
it's a great question. Here in Singapore, one of the most popular, well, I could start with the most popular martial art. And there's a reason why Taekwondo was part of the country's core martial arts during development stages. And so Taekwondo actually brought the community together at affordable rates. They expand their certifications across the country, and they localize their certifications. So a lot of a lot of young people that was just starting out in the industry. Um, well, we I wouldn't know. I was only probably about 10 years old, starting out in the industry at 10 years old.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah,
Around
you were an
'80s.
entrepreneur then.
So I got my black belt in 2.5 years, and then I realized that the notion of martial arts is it could spread. It could be more widespread. We could actually invite other martial arts in. It's not isolated. It's not working in silos. It's working as an organism. And then I started to train with friends in Aikido. No certifications to that. Just training with friends.
Mhm.
Um, I Then some point along the way, I got into kickboxing. I made a brand out of kickboxing, a strong local brand that is supported by the university and other partners. Um, and then I had wrestling. I had Olympic style wrestling, and I had the Krav Maga along the way. Krav Maga came about to me in around 2015. Yeah.
And what was it about Krav Maga that drew you to it? Like,
Great question. Krav Maga is mixed martial arts, and the most unique thing about Krav Maga is it's one step ahead of mixed martial arts. It'll always one step ahead, realizing that at a stage in my life, I went to pursue it. Um, Head on, I went to pursue it. I went to make as much friends in the community, and it's it is something that everyone must learn. Everyone must learn.
Mhm. So when you said that Krav Maga is one step ahead of mixed martial arts, like what do you actually mean by that?
So so if I could describe a
Mhm.
traditional martial art like Taekwondo, traditional martial art has the system of elimination or round robin. So this is very interesting in the community. Not a lot of people know about it, and it's great to speak about it here. Um, so round robin and elimination method allows for more participants to participate in a competition every year, and within one competition, there would be there would be many winners. You have gold, silver, bronze. However, mixed martial arts, you would probably just have uh, one star player, another star player, and that would be the within the first to three rounds, and you will have a response, and that's the match. Um,
Mhm.
it's different for Krav Maga. Krav Maga is in in a league on its own where you have reality training.
Mhm.
It's non competition based, rival based. So it takes us one step ahead of traditional martial arts, one step ahead of mixed martial arts. So no faulting traditional martial arts against mixed martial arts anyway, because traditional martial arts would allow more people to participate within its system, right? And
Mhm.
it has the elimination method, round robin method to bring in athletes every year, and sometimes that's where we have the Olympics. Um, for mixed martial arts, you have each of its own kind of like organization championships, and every one of them is just trying to get a voice in the cosmos of martial arts. So
Mhm.
so with that said, Krav Maga, Krav Maga invites all systems, all recipes of.
Mhm. So so yeah, so here's the age old question: do you even consider Krav Maga a martial art, or a, because a lot of people refer to it more as a self protection or self defense system rather than a martial art?
Well, you would need leaders to actually bring in the components of a martial art and martial art based leaders, and where it's self defense, you would need self defense leaders to bring in that component. Um, these two can be separated into can be divided into two components. Um, in self defense, in reality training, we mix all factors. Now, the people who do not see Krav Maga that way, it would be enlightening for all martial art leaders to actually recognize that it's a system that builds upon every other system,
Mhm.
and that's what allows every other martial artist to be invited to Krav Maga to participate.
Mhm. Yeah, because Krav Maga just borrows um, from anywhere, really. Like whatever works best. The like real Krav Maga doesn't care where it comes from as long as it works. Um, what is what is like your kind of philosophy on Krav Maga when you're teaching your students?
So we are at the we are at a stage of development.
Mhm.
Um, when I have shared Krav Maga with our participants, the philosophy is to build on mixed martial arts.
Mhm.
It'll be very realistic philosophy because um, in any community there'll be tension. Lately, even more tension in current times.
Mhm.
Um, tension, and when that is in your consciousness. Um, Krav Maga originally had its founder Imi speaking about the idea of so that one may walk in peace.
Mhm.
However, I like to build upon his philosophy, and I respect the founder. Um, I believe the idea would be so that one may walk together, or we may walk together, and that is that is the philosophy where we are all inclusive,
Mhm.
and we would like to have a common ground before we go into the special mechanics of Krav Maga. Common ground is mixed martial arts, and we would then pick that and build upon that, and even build ourselves upon that as well as
Mhm.
instructors as well.
Okay. So do you focus in your Krav Maga instruction more on um, the kind of de-escalating and avoiding the conflict, or is it more about aggression? Is it more about self-defense? What part do you see as most important?
It's uh, it's funny that you say that because in I had a question of my own master when I learned Krav Maga from him, and I asked him, "What's the?" I asked him along the same question that you shared with, a little bit more refined. What's the application of Krav Maga in context of the law?
Mhm.
So I got to study a little bit of the legal aspects within my country, and I could share for everyone that's listening.
Mhm.
In
Please do.
Singapore, the legal fundamentals is of self-defense is reasonable, something that's practical. So in some other countries, you might have laws based on other systems, but the key word is reasonableness. And in Singapore, legislation is will actually overcome any form of lifestyle. So if your lifestyle is Krav Maga, if your lifestyle is um, if you're an engineer, if you have some kind of philosophy, if you're in technology and you have a way of living, you have a way of going about living the best way you know how, and the things that convenience you may not be common ground for the country. Okay, so in
Mhm.
this country, what is reasonable? Reasonable is where you defend yourself to a degree that does not hurt the other person. However, reasonable also means that reasonable could also mean that you do not get into a encounter that's unreasonable.
Mhm.
So so while practicing Krav Maga, I keep that in mind that and I share with the community that in this country it's about how to be reasonable and not to be unreasonable encounters. So if Krav Maga is in your system, avoidance is the practice within this country. Okay, so
Mhm.
now with that said, um, that would not be the same for all countries. Like in some countries, you're allowed to carry your own weapons. You are not living in a tight knitted community, just walking down the street in the next 50 meters, and you just see a neighbor. You're in the next house. You're the next neighborhood in 50 meters or 100 meters. That is how the country is built. It's small, so everything is built to precision. However, if you're living in a country where you're isolated, you're in a part of the countryside, you have to jolly well get all possible means of protection.
Mhm.
Um, if you're allowed a gun, carry, keep a gun in your household. If you're allowed sticks and knives, keep that in your household, because it can be daunting to live in a in a in an isolated area, and you do not have community to actually look after you in
Mhm.
that living situation. So I hope I answered that question.
Yeah. So basically, it's more about the situational awareness part of Krav Maga, where you know don't get yourself into situations where you're going to need to use it. Avoidance is the best solution, but if you can't avoid it, then you're allowed to defend yourself within a reasonable parameter.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's pretty much the same here, um, where I am. Um, so yeah. Um, so you have your own studio, correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
we have an instructor training. The the premise of the company, the business is instructor training,
Okay.
and lately we are so happy to share that we have access to teach Krav Maga in 109 community centers island wide. Have access to do that,
Mm.
and we are building the capacity to do so. However, um, in terms of legislation, in terms of partnerships and collaborations, we have made that um, establishment with the community centers, and we are so happy to be part of that. It's a
Okay.
great looking environment. Great looking environment. You go in, it's like you have all functions of your recreational lifestyle. There's no swimming pool in common community centers. Some of them do, um, and it's really built to satisfaction.
Okay.
However,
So
lately we're not lately everything's like there are more parameters to do training lately.
yeah, for sure. I'm not sure I'm understanding. So you only teach instructors, or do you have just like regular citizens that you teach as well?
We do. One of my unique experiences is teaching international community. One of them is a assistant professor, and
Okay.
um, really highly qualified. Another one of them is an engineer, and then university individuals, university life individuals. Yeah, we are well connected to teach these individuals. We have provided them grades.
Mhm. And
Milestones.
oh, nice. So do you have like specialized training courses? So one where you're teaching instructors to teach civilians, another where you're teaching for law enforcement, another one where you're teaching for military, or is it just one?
It's a great question. We we had a arrangement with the military prior, and we were just coaching them an exercise program. It was an exercise program. It was for several military camps, and we we had some satisfaction ratings. So we had a survey conducted, and then they gave us a good feedback. So we built upon that with the police force, with the military. It happens in it happens in seasons, so it's very seasonal,
Mhm.
and we welcome partners that actually are active internationally. So if you are active in other countries, we get excited, and then we look at the profile, and then we also invite partners as well. So that's pretty cool.
And do you get a lot of opportunity, or have you had a lot of opportunity to train in other nations?
So so I had a program done in I had a collective program done in India. It was enrichment for myself rather.
Mhm.
So that was one, and then we have training lately through online platforms, online utilities with a partner from Israel, and that's where we get additional uh, rankings and certifications. We build upon our international partners for this. So yeah, Israel, India. Um, we're hoping to expand, of course. The neighbor and the neighborhood. We have the Philippines, we have Malaysia, Indonesia is just a boat ride away. We have um, a big player. We have China. So
Mhm.
we hope our skills are transferable to all nations, and
Mhm.
I would see that the type of training it's more of border security, um, more of broader security, more of some kind of building the strength and the strength of the population, the strength and fitness of the population,
Mhm.
and nothing so far that is especially about conflicts. Um, I was thinking the other day, the biggest offense the all nations has is nuclear weapons. So no one actually has more power than that.
Yeah.
So absolutely, mere mortals with elite training uh, are are looking to build fitness
Mhm.
rather than any conflict resolution.
Mm. So, um, so obviously, like around the world, right? With the pandemic and all that stuff, the tensions have been, especially here in North America, that like just the average person, that like there's a lot of tension. There seems to be an increase in violence and violent crime. Um, is What's the situation on the ground there in Singapore? Um, is there a lot of tension from the pandemic, or is it more regional, as like because there's tensions between like China and India and different countries there, uh, the Philippines, right? So what is the general feeling of the people?
That's a great question. I think for those that they would definitely gain a lot of insights through this. This is my It's also my observation as a researcher as well. From a researcher standpoint, the nation is built with define the different communities. They have not successfully integrated everyone, just like America. So
Mhm.
if you stand by the leadership of the leadership and the originality and the firm values of America, then you are American, irregardless of your ethnic background. I think that's important. In Singapore, there are too many um, types of communities, and we have been living together so successfully because of values, beliefs, norms, and cultures so successfully for a very long time. However, pandemic times has risen tensions, and I don't think this is common ground for the young or the middle age. However, elderly elderly people and people that are still continue to speak in their own languages have difficulty interacting. So a dominant culture, a dominant ethnic group in Singapore is the Chinese community,
Mhm.
and absolutely, um, we embrace them, we love them, we uh, we shelter them, and it is not as intense as what's happening in Thailand. I've been in Thailand for an exchange program, mixed martial arts, rather Muay Thai specifically, with a great leader over there. However, his base language is Thai. I went to university over there to actually find out more about their practices. I wanted to learn about their university culture, and I found out that the language is segregated. It's really segregated. Here in school, we when you welcome your young in school in Singapore, you have the choice to speak in Mandarin, and it's a great choice. Why not? Why not learn a new language?
Mhm.
You have the choice to speak in Tamil. You have the choice to speak in Bahasa, Malay, and they made it mandatory for parents to choose one language, at least one second language. Um, it became advantageous for the community because it's vibrant. You will we will definitely connect with more people in the neighboring regions, um, and, uh, and with that said, coming back to the question,
So,
with that said, with that said, coming back to the question, yes, for for people who are still isolated, there are people who are still isolated in their culture, in their maybe ethnic community as well. Um, we have physical tensions, yes, and some of these physical tensions had actually altercations. So it's not something that's hidden. It's reported in world news. So what we had a Chinese ethnic background attacking a physically attacking an Indian ethnic background. They didn't see eye to eye. They had their own ideas, values, belief, norms, um, and the community became a bit more. Certain communities became a bit more aggressive, right? Um, so primarily, the country was dominated with the 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 local culture was Malay, right? So Malay, and and then there were a lot of Chinese people over here. So then they expand, and then this country uh, became good friends with China because of its majority population.
mhm.
So with it brings nervous energy to some people when we hear um, a majority attacking a minority. So
Mhm.
that is of concern, and that is of international concern.
Mhm. And yeah, you never actually finished talking about your observations in Taiwan.
Oh, Thailand.
Or, oh, it was Thailand. I thought you
Speaking
said
of
Taiwan.
Taiwan, speaking of Taiwan,
Yeah.
speaking of Taiwan, well, I had a trip to Taiwan right before the pandemic hit,
Hmm.
the international um, communities, and I was giving out oranges over there. Now, what later I found out? I found out hydroxychloroquine and vitamin C. There was a research. This cocktail actually. Um, helps reduce oxidative stress. So when we wear masks and we do training, we're doing a breathing through our lungs, we're hyperventilating. Some people may actually have a severe lung issue, or when they cough into their mask, they may have the severe lung issue infections because of this. So lower oxidative stress helps with the community that is practicing exercise, and that was I did with Taiwan right before I came back to Singapore. And boom, everywhere was on lockdown. All governments was on lockdown, and I advocated that fitness ought to be something that is continued. Um,
Yeah.
it was a serious matter because you cannot have places that teaches you sports science, universities that teaches you sports science, and when there's a pandemic, everyone stops moving. The disease will hit us even harder. So
Mhm.
people were still outside jogging, whether they were doing Krav Maga on their own. They were they were they were in the physical activity, and
Mhm.
I was advocating for that, for the elderlies, for the youths, and for the adults, and we managed to actually get our ideas heard, and we thank logical reasoning for that.
Yeah, definitely. There's plenty of research to show that exercise helps with fighting off disease, right? That and a good diet. Um, so, so you believe that? Excuse me. So do you like what utility do you believe that Krav Maga has in a community, right? And for the realities that we face today.
So Krav Maga has the utility of bringing all martial arts together and
Mhm.
raising the standards of self-defense. All martial arts together, raising the standards of self-defense,
Mhm.
um, in common ground, non in a non-religious way, non there's no particular um, hesitation behind it. It's a universal exercise. With this universal exercise, we believe that Krav Maga should be part of all communities, and it has a utility in Singapore, particularly to integrate the international community with the local population, and to build on their confidence when they are here in a foreign land, when they're here in as expats. So
Mhm.
so that's one huge utility, very huge. Um, it definitely reduces the idea of something that is unfamiliar. So you see another person out there, you see their practices, it's really unfamiliar. If you're an expat, if you're from the international community over here, there are a lot of things that are really unfamiliar because there are many practicing, um, many cultures practicing their own ways of living.
Mhm.
So, so what martial art does is it gives them a base, like Taekwondo gave us a base, like wrestling gave us a base. Um, this base is not enough. This base, then we know that so far the superior art form is mixed martial arts. The
Mhm.
idea that there is an idea that a superior art form is mixed martial art because you cannot be in full contact with some rules without damaging the body significantly, without
Mhm.
severely damaging the body. With one person severely injured, that is that is the rawness of self-defense.
Mhm.
in the community where you have in the community, in the past you have sticks and stones. Now, now where you are, you have we are in a concrete jungle. We are not bound by the rules of the ring. So Krav Maga actually invites everyone to learn about how we defend ourselves in the concrete jungle,
Mhm.
and that is the huge utility. It brings people together, lowers the barrier of unfamiliarity in any aspect. So it definitely creates friendships, and I have been good friends with many of my participants. I still keep in contact with them. I still ask them come back for training.
Mhm.
Um, in even in pandemic times, and they do, and that is my belief that so that one may walk in peace, so that we may walk together. So that's the utility. That's the initial utility. Now beyond that is how leaders in Krav Maga, good
Mhm.
leaders, non-isolated leaders in Krav Maga can be very traditional. Yes, Krav Maga can be traditional, and we do not want Krav Maga to be too traditional.
No.
So Krav Maga is a developing form, um, and that is the other utility because it's in constant development. When I say it's in constant development, I do not mean that its foundations are rooted. Its foundations are rooted in one of the biggest nation building in Israel, nation building formats in Israel. So because it's rooted there, it protects the people from something that's unfamiliar, and that was its premise. However, because it's developing in the sense of bridging communities together,
Mhm.
that is something that lowers resistance for and restrictions. Um, yeah, so it's Krav Maga is not it's not entirely Israel's Krav Maga. No, it's the entire world. It's craft life.
I like how you work that in there. Yeah, it's true. Like Krav Maga has evolved way past its original foundations in much the same manner that Brazilian Jiu Jitsu has evolved past its original foundations and has become an international um, an international. It belongs to the world right now, and it's not exclusively Israeli anymore. Just like Brazilian Jiu Jitsu is not exclusively Brazilian anymore. Um, anyway, so those are some awesome insights, and I enjoyed discussing this with you. The more philosophical side of Krav Maga and where things need to go. Um, Hopefully, you can come back on the show at another point in time, and um, Singapore has always been on kind of like one of my lists of Asian countries that I wouldn't mind visiting, um, because it's got some interesting um, history and development. It's like just like Hong Kong, it's like one of the most modern Asian countries and very proactive, right? So uh, like you guys are more forward thinking than other nations, right? Like especially when you're dealing with infrastructure and building things, it's neat to see. But anyway, I wish you the best of luck with coming out of the pandemic, and hopefully you can be on the show at another point in time.
I thank you, Paul, and I have to also thank my foundations with Singapore Krav Maga Force with Singapore Kickboxing Club. The foundations has created the best people that I know. Um, what I do and I hope to achieve is providing quality instructor training, and we have our regular classes as well, but quality instructor training for more of the local populace and international populace to actually have a career ahead of them. We are the
Mhm.
starting point, and what we are doing today as well, we are the starting point of building more careers in Krav Maga, building the community in Krav Maga, and the same as your wishes to Singapore, my wishes to North America as well.
Perfect. Thank you. We will also make sure to list your contact information. I'll get that from you afterwards, and we'll list your contact information. So if anyone wants to book training with you, maybe have you over into North America to come visit and do some training. All right, that'd be awesome. All right, sir. You take care of yourself, and we will see you next time.
Kida.